Hey folks, it's Mark Montfort here from Redbelly Insights, and we're coming to you live from the Gold Coast, hence why I'm in a hotel right now actually recording this. You will see a very special episode this time. We've got Vincent up on stage. He's joined by folks from Google, so we're going to hear some really interesting insights. This is brought to you over here at the Gold Coast at the Digital Economy Council conference, D-Conference as they call it, where the industry is coming together to share, learn, and just basically network. And it's one of those things that just needs to be done every year, even more often when we can, and a lot of learning opportunities. So you're going to hear from Vincent. Normally this kind of stuff you would not see until you're actually here at one of these conferences. So you will get the results here, you'll see, you'll learn, and it's all going to be really interesting stuff. So can't wait to see what Vincent has to show us. Check it out.
And this is the CTO and founder of Redbelly, and he's also got his good colleague Kunal Limaye, who's a Google Cloud Web3 engineer, all the way up from Melbourne. I'm going to hand it up to you for the next 35, 40 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for the very nice introduction. And I just want to outline that this is a joint work with Google, so I'm super excited to have this joint presentation/demo. I'm going to present a few slides, and then we're going to a demo where you will see agentic AI working with the blockchain in a regulated environment. Before Kunal will conclude with a few slides from his side. This is a super interesting thing, right? We're living at this moment, a moment where agentic AI can really embrace blockchain technologies. And I think some of you might know about this combination and what it promises, right? In the sense that you can see the agentic layer or the agentic AI layer sitting on top that will take a lot of decision autonomously, right? And you can see also the blockchain as a data store, right? Something that has some data that is quite complex to access because it needs you to be a bit tech savvy, sign transactions, for example. But the blockchain ensures that you don't need trust, right? And on the other hand, when you deal with agentic AI, you might be a bit suspicious and you might not trust the agent you're dealing with, right? So the combination of this trustless platform with agentic AI is super promising, right? It will not only simplify the access to this really complex technology that is blockchain, but it will also do that in a trustless fashion, right? We don't need to trust the AI agent anymore. Okay, so it looks like a very promising future, but it's not always ideal, right? And I want to bring you to this dystopic future where essentially if you were just plugging agentic AI to the classic blockchain technology, then you could end up in such a situation where essentially you have an agent that does pretty much whatever he wants, that is completely autonomous, running on the blockchain technology that you cannot stop, right? So think about it for a minute. You could have, for example, someone who has uploaded an AI agent, right, on the blockchain platform. It takes the decision, right? This person that has uploaded his AI agent is completely anonymous. Why? Because it's using classic blockchains that is at best pseudonymous, right? So he uploads this AI agent, and now the AI agent is just the software that takes decision about maybe creating pieces of art. It's possible, right? You have seen Midjourney and what you can do with ChatGPT producing a Studio Ghibli pieces of art, right? This AI agent can very easily sell on an open marketplace like OpenSea these pieces of art. It will generate revenue, right? A lot of revenue. They would use a tiny bit of this revenue in order to issue more transactions on the blockchain. And you can do that again and again and again and again. The problem here is that there is no accountability. It's not linked to any institution or organization or individual, right? And this can run forever and becomes, the wealthiest entity on the planet, presumably, right? It's a bit scary to think about it this way, right? But this is what AI with the classic blockchain can allow us to see, right? So something that is very interesting is that if we could introduce accountability in this blockchain layer, making sure that there is no bot doing anything on their own, or there is no child playing and doing crazy things on the blockchain. If we had something like Redbelly network that would authenticate every single user ahead of time before they enter this regulated blockchain environment, then we wouldn't have this problem anymore, right? Every single user on Redbelly network has to be an adult that's a human biometrics, right? You would have to go through a process. I drew this finger print here just to indicate that there's a biometric check that is happening for every single user that wants to enter the Redbelly network. So we make sure that these are human adults. It's a project that started almost a decade ago, right? The Redbelly network, through CSIRO and University of Sydney. It has been listed as part of the National Blockchain Roadmap Australia by the federal government. It's fast in the sense that it offers this quasi-instant finality that we were talking about for instant settlement, something that reduces and does not experience what you call dead money, I guess. So something that is very useful for settlement as well. It is accountable, and this is what I was referring to. The gap with classic blockchain is the lack of accountability. It is accountable here because we know that there's an institution or an individual that has uploaded an AI agent, if there's an AI agent on the blockchain. And any AI agent can be executing on our blockchain, but it has to be registered by a user who is actually a human, right? And this user will be accountable for the AI agent that he has uploaded. And finally, it's real-world asset ready. We already have a lot of real-world assets, carbon credits, titanium. You can talk to him, the two team here in the room if you want to know the extent of the real-world assets they are already seeking on the platform. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you about the current state of Redbelly network. It has been in production since December last year, so which means we have a mainnet. We have more than 730,000 unique wallets. So people have been going through this authentication process. These are humans or institutions. We have more than 200 nodes spread all the world right now. Not in every country, but across all continents in 41 countries. These are the operators that are helping run this network. And for the sake of the demo, I would like to take a very concrete example for Australian citizens, which relates to superannuation. We've been talking about self-managed superannuation fund, and something that we are aiming at is self-managed, self-custodian superannuation funds. You might have heard about this problem that happened in April this year, where Australian Super got hacked. It's not so much of a surprise, right? This superannuation fund centralized a lot of assets, and they become honeypots for hackers, right? But it puts at risk the pension fund of the Australian citizens, so it's a big problem. Now, if you could use an AI agent that could manage your assets, let's say your super, and you could keep self-custody of all your assets in your wallet, and that would be much better than what we currently have. Don't you think? And that's going to be the point of this deal today. Just to explain how it's going to proceed, you have to understand that we're going to upload an application on top of the Redbelly network. Let's call it My AI Super, right? Because you have self-custody of your assets. The AI agent will manage your portfolio, but it's for your superannuation fund. A user will self-custody his super fund in its wallet that is represented on the left-hand side of the diagram here. The user will need to get a verifiable credential first before entering the network. We will pass these steps because Kunal and I have already registered on the network, so you don't have to see that. But essentially, you have to share your biometric with an identity provider that is outside the Redbelly network. And the identity provider, if you provide real information, will register you on the network, right? So the PII is not on the network. The user will then access the network to register their AI agent, right? If you are a registered user, you can create new public-private key pairs, right? You just have to give one to your AI agent. You give him a little bit of money to invest. The fourth step is that the agent now, because it's part of you're accountable for it, it can access the Redbelly network on your behalf. It will simply have to interact with My AI Super, the decentralized application that sits on top of Redbelly network, to manage your portfolio. And the good news is that the user will make a profit. Why? First of all, because his portfolio is managed by the AI agent while he sleeps, but also because the cost of transactions on the Redbelly network is extremely small. It's 1 cent of a US dollar per basic transaction, native transfer, like 21,000 gas. Right, so it's very healthy. Before we start the demo, I just want to show you the interface of My AI Super. So not sure you can see. Let's put the font a little bit bigger. So it's essentially you have two tables here. You have just a summary at the top of the assets, your portfolio, and you have the details at the bottom, which each individual assets that I've purchased. You can see on the top right corner that I've logged in, so with my MetaMask or Wallet Connect wallet. Okay, so I'm using a decentralized application whose interface is in my web browser. And because I've authenticated with MetaMask, you can retrieve the assets that I own, right? So at the top, you just have a summary saying that I'm owning some securities. Among the securities, I have equities and fixed income, like bonds. I also have properties, real estate properties, alternative assets as well. And then you just have the details of all these properties below. If I want to take an example, I can click on one of the real estate that I own. I think the Wi-Fi here is working IPFS, so we might not see all the metadata that the images. But if I go in my portfolio, I should be able to see this property that I own, which is called Skyline Residence 7. And if I click on the detail, you can see the pictures. It's a beautiful apartment. And it's located in this very interesting area, which is next to Brisbane, where the Olympic Games will take place in 2032. So it's probably going to be climbing back. So yeah, I own this property. That's essentially it. Of course, there are other DAs that we have created before. The bonds, the securities, and the alternative assets that I can skip. But I think you understand that here there's this decentralized application, My AI Super, that interacts with another decentralized application that manages real estate properties, just for the panoramic homes that I've just showed you with this nice property previously. And now we're going to do a demo, and I invite Kunal to come on stage so that he will explain how the AI agent can manage your portfolio as it's described here, but through an agent interface. Thank you very much.
Oh, lovely. Afternoon, everyone. Kunal, you may have been with Google for almost 8 years now, and been in the Web3 industry for probably 5 or 6 years. Really keen to give you a view of how we are seeing agents coming on chain gradually. Let me just dive deep straight into it. As we have seen, what Vincent has given you a view of is how these DACs work quite easily down up on chain. What I want to show you guys here is that there are two components in this demo. One is the Redbelly network. It's a testnet. So I know Vincent said that he's got a big property there. It's on testnet, so it's not a real property. But the simple thing there is that it's an ETH API. So the interaction between the two, it's a simple ETH API. There's nothing special there. And the agentic portfolio manager, that's sitting as a MCP or a model context protocol. I'll self-explain what that means in a second. I'll dive straight into it. There is a bit of a clunkiness to this, but bear with me. All right, so as with all the security conscious people, I've got my key loaded there, and I'm going to register it. So all I've done so far is that I've registered myself as a user with my private key to the AI agent. Now that AI agent has got my private key, so that's a basic red flag that we should all be conscious about, is that you've got the AI agent with your private key, and now that agent can start signing transactions or doing all kind of weird activity on your behalf. So just keep that in mind as you go through this. What you see on the left-hand side here is that this is coming up on the screen. Yeah. So all these things is on the back end. It's called MCP, as I said, Model Context Protocol. They give you something of a it gives you a way to interact with or to bring any assets on chain, right? So it gives you a bit of determinism. I'm not explaining this in the right manner, but think of this as a function that is executed in a very, very specific manner. So what we're doing here first is that it's greet the user. So this information that I've provided on the left-hand side, it just registers that as a user. It sets a certain risk profile. So it does that in a very specific manner. And the reason that I'm sort of calling it out a couple of times is that, as you all might know, large language models are very non-deterministic. By that I mean that if you tell it to do something, it will respond in a certain manner. And if you ask it to do the same thing again a couple of minutes later, it's very likely to give you a different type of response. The net effect might be the same, but the response that it provides will be very different. So something like this gives you a deterministic way for the LLM to start interacting with the backends.
Makes sense.
So what you've got here is that you've got Kunal registered the risk profile set to low. We were going to do something very crazy about this risk profile being set to low, but true to form, we were working on this demo until this morning and we never got to doing that. So let's look past that. And let's do something like list all the assets on chain. You go to the list asset function in the MCP. It will go and list all the assets that are available on chain. Secret is structures where I need to. Yeah. So there you go. Do the it's happy word format, please. So hopefully it does that. Many times it comes back and says go away, but hopefully it doesn't this time.
Is that Gemini under the bit?
Yes, it is. Yes. Let's go away. Let me just check this again. There is actually an interesting paper that has been published that if you actually are like almost mean to the AI, it behaves a lot better. So
Suspicious thinking.
it actually has to be mean to
We are not taking that risk, bro. But you go on ahead.
All right, list my assets on chain.
Or else.
So there you go. List user. So that these are all the assets that I own. How it knows that is because it's got my private key. Right, so it's just gone ahead and gave you all the assets. What I'll do here is sell, I don't know, alpha stock worth 100. So far what you've seen is that this is doing nothing more specific than what Vincent showed you. Right? Vincent was just doing it through the UI, and I'm just using it in location. But think of this is in a way that this is something that could run 24/7. It doesn't go to sleep like we do. So if I go something along the lines of register me to buy properties that Vincent says. So if you've seen anyone like follow Warren Buffett in there when he does the type of purchases in the stock market, or maybe you want to do everything opposite to what I do in the market, right? Like that's what you're going to use something like this. Let's do that. See if it does that. I'm not able to request this. I can register. Okay.
Vincent's name does this spell?
That is an English spell. I don't know if that's a fact.
No, it's. I tried to be too cute. There is no capability to sort of identify Vincent as a user on the platform. All right, perfect. So what I've done here is that I've just registered to automatically buy any property that comes up on platform. So I should say any property that is being sold on the platform. So just give me 1 sec, Vincent. What we'll get to do is we'll get Vincent to sell a property from his portfolio, and the agent should automatically buy it. Fine. Give me 1 sec.
Because usually, yes, we live demo. Even if we don't test that, this is
No. You're going out. It might not work. Here.
Let's just see. Let's get it to list my assets. If it's nice to me, and it's listing all the assets, why is it doing that? That's just. This is a customer. So these are all the assets that are on chain. Can you list my assets only? There you go. It's doing something. So these are the assets that I have. Can you sell something in your portfolio?
Okay. I'm gonna sell my beautiful prop. This in Whitman. Okay, so I click the button. On my portfolio, it also let you finding to sign a transaction. Let's see.
So do you guys have to already be Delphi 4 to know each other?
No, so all the contract is doing in the back end, it's every time he sells a property, there is a event that is called property sell, and I'm listening for that, or that agent is listening for that event. So as soon as it sees that event, it'll do it.
But he needs to be registered on that network, I guess, yeah.
What if there's a number of agents registered to compete?
Yeah, correct. So DECA will be the first one that gets to it. Absolutely, it's that. But that's how it works at the moment of figure.
Transaction was successful.
Lovely. Let's see. So my assets.
And what if he knew the
Which one was that?
and then
It's got this one like. Come see yesterday. It's either you haven't sold it or I haven't bought from it. Let me see. Anyway, I think even if you can't see it, hopefully you get to your LZR.
what's going on? Explosions this Boston.
Somebody else bought it.
Oh my god, yeah, so it's on testnet. There are a lot of users. So they might have checked the product, could be through new deviations, and that's not.
Can we find establishing and upload? Don't know. Let's try something else. You will try it and stop.
Samsung, stop. I want to get rid of that anywhere there. They estimated by
Pixel sensor about to row about that.
Samsung stops.
Yeah, cut a blessing. Products. I'm selling the Samsung stock, confirming the transaction with the last. I'm going back. It's the last hours ago.
successful transaction.
It's got proof.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, there you go. So it's gone ahead and bought the Samsung asset for me. So somebody that it did like a probably was somewhere tuned. But yeah, that's the type of interesting UX that Fusions can drive for us. It makes it quite interesting.
Have you tested this on exchanges?
No. So this is purely untested. But I would be very surprised if this is the Norway issue on Dexys.
Sorry, was that it? Yeah, I saw it. Was April.
Yeah, I would be very surprised. As we just saw, that agentic portfolio, that's not running on chain, that's running off the chain. Any idea why that might be the case? Yeah, that's one very good reason to keep it off the chain. Well, the basic reason there is that to run these large language models, it just needs really large compute. And what that would mean for networks is that the network loads need to be really big, and that's unlikely, or that makes it very tight. And the second reason is the non-deterministic nature of what we just discussed. What we just saw is that it could do certain things, it at times does something else. So that unpredictability is something that blockchains don't like. So this is the, if you like, unpacking of what that portfolio manager looks like. There are three components: model context protocol, large language model, and agentic framework. As someone would have picked up rightfully using Gemini, I'm biased at that. The Google Agent Development Kit, highly recommend if you're going down the building any type of AI agents, have a look at that. And the Model Context Protocol is between Golang. It runs on Cloud Run, which is just a normal container. Now, back to the point of something running off-chain. What we have done really well in the blockchain world is the idea that we can verify everything. Don't trust anyone. You should be able to verify everything that they say. But how do you do that for off-chain components? How do you bring that verifiable compute to a off-the-chain agent running? There is a big push around something called secure enclaves or trusted execution environments, and that's what these agents can run in. The simplest way, because think of it this way, like you couldn't give them your private keys. You need to be able to have some sort of idea of what that AI agent is going to do. That AI agent is running off the chain. So you need to be able to interrogate in some shape or form to make sure it's doing the right thing. If you don't like looking at the code, ignore the bottom part of the diagram, but at the top part, you really think of three key players in this dance, if you like. One is the owner of the private key, which is possibly known as resource owners. That's someone who is going to share private data that shouldn't be exfiltrated anyway. The AI agent developer, someone who develops an agent and deploys it in the trusted execution environment, that's the workload. And the third is someone who does the attestations that make sure that the environment is what it needs to be. All those pieces are done by a Google Cloud Attestation Service. That's the attestation client. If you don't like working with Google, that's fine. You just have to build all of this from scratch, and I have seen people do it. But the point there is that there just needs to be some kind of assertion frame. And just stay with me while I try and explain this fourth piece, which is the attestation or assertion rules. So before you, as a private owner of that key, can hit that submit button, if you remember when I registered, I put in my private key and hit register. Before I do that, I want to do some checks and balances to make sure that that workload that I'm submitting this private key to is in a known state. But then there are various ways that trusted execution environments allows to do that. Simplest way here is that I'm checking an image digest, that is that container, this workload container that is built. It has gone a no build hash. So all the builds are what is called as you should be reproducible. So it should be producing exactly the same hash if the input has been the same. But that's the idea there. So you check for a known image digest, you check for the known service account, that's the service account that will be using your keys, and what is the software stack in this space is config space. There's a lot more to unpack in there. Don't look at that code very closely because it's a really badly written code, but hopefully that gives you a bit of idea of how trusted execution environment is.
There you go, folks. That was really insightful stuff. It certainly makes me want to run to Claude, ChatGPT, or even any of those other AI tools and look up some of the terms there. It's always a learning journey and experience, and Vincent certainly took us for an interesting journey. So there's going to be a lot more of this kind of stuff that you'll see from partners and what they're doing, who's building with Redbelly, what the community is up to, and much more. Insights is all about bringing all of that